This is the White Shirt Podcast.
White shirts matter. What? That's not funny?
Too soon.
Too soon. Everything I say is too soon. What the hell? What's up, y'all? So where are we? What are we doing here, Paul?
Tell the people who you are and what we are.
I am Kevin McLaughlin, and this is the Riffs and
Rhythms Podcast. I'm Paul Robertson. So we are back behind the microphones.
We are, and we are actually we're right here, back, and
Right where you want us to be.
As Paul likes to say, now that you've listened to us, we'd like to encourage you to find us on YouTube and go ahead and listen some more.
And then go ahead and make sure you hit that.
Click the bell and the subscribe button so that you can get notified as to whenever we're going to do whatever we do.
Dino hit the wrong button. We still haven't updated our buttons.
Yeah,
we don't
I
have
actually have the whole thing on my phone to look at it now. So
Okay, so we'll have to work on upgrading our soundboard there.
that was the closest thing I had to a bell.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we've also got Dino, our trusted tech
Yes, hello.
sound effects man.
I like how he gives himself an applause.
I do. I need the confidence.
Yeah, because we're so very much hard on you. So yeah, so
Ah.
yeah, so we'll eventually get you back on the camera again.
Yeah.
At least you got a microphone to talk to us with.
Yeah, no, this is fun.
He's got PTSD about being on camera.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
Because the whole
Yeah.
shark bite
The
incident.
noodling
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
episode.
So thanks again for tuning into the podcast here. So make sure if you're listening or watching us on YouTube, we're available on audio and video at the same time. It drops at the same time, same date, same bat channel every Tuesday. So yeah, so give us a like, follow, so forth there. We're now, the audio format is now on the Drums and Rums podcast stream channel. So tune in, find Drums and Rums.
So we have merged with the Drums and Rums
We have.
empire.
That is correct. So the podcast network that I'm trying to grow here of music-related kind of fun stuff, content that's all related to it, is all now one. Really, I'm just trying to save a little bit of money there.
I have to
So
balance this out. I gotta have my own podcast and call it Riffs and Whiskey.
we could do that. Riffs and what did somebody say? Oh, guitars and gin.
I don't drink gin.
Well, for the right amount of money, I'm sure if somebody pays you to, you will drink gin. Yeah. So
Yeah, whiskey and riffs.
There you go. All right. So Whiskey and Riffs coming up next after the Riffs and Rhythms podcast. But yeah, let's get to our guest who is joined us again.
We have is that why that guy's in here? He's our guest.
Yes, yes. So again, if you liked it, if
Oh,
you liked
man.
last episode
I
there,
recognize him from
Not
somewhere.
that guy.
Yeah, so this was an episode last week where it was definitely for the guitarists, right? So definitely the enthusiast or the exports or whatever you guys call a guitar aficionado. Is that maybe the better word to use? But I think it was actually a really
Everybody
great,
loves guitar. There's no such thing as not being a guitar aficionado.
not everybody.
No, everybody.
Everybody loves
Not
guitar.
everybody. See, even our guest says it. Not everybody. But yes, welcome back to the podcast here.
So we had Brian Hill from Bubble Up's Guitars.
Bubble Up's Guitar Works.
Bubble Up's Guitar Works. And exactly how you say it is less important than the fact that when you get your guitar worked on, it bubbles right up in the mix.
And it's done right since 2014, bro.
There you go. Rock
So-
on.
so
10
we'll-
years of doing it. You got to be doing something.
Yeah. So yeah, that gives a little clap there. Yeah. So Brian, we didn't get to ask you the name. How did you come up with the name there?
I didn't.
Okay.
A little tiny girl did. I believe on the last episode we were talking a little bit about my time with the Johnny Van Zant Band in Jacksonville, Florida. And during that time, I actually lived at the Van Zant house,
Wow.
5419 Woodcrest Road. Never forget it. Johnny had a single wide trailer in the back portion of the property. His sister, Marlene, had a double wide trailer on the other back portion of the property. And then we had the Lacey Van Zant and Sister Van Zant homestead where the boys were all raised and girls were all raised. Anyway, long story short, his mom babysit his first two daughters, Kristen and Lindsay. And so whenever we were home from the road, we was always doing stuff to help around the house. There was always something to be done. Truck to be worked on, van to be worked on, house to be worked on, whatever. I was walking through the house one day, and she was watching the kids. And I believe she was probably about 5 at that time. Kristen Van Zandt looked up at me and said, Bola. And Johnny's mama was sitting on the couch right there, and she looked over at me and she said, what the hell she call you? I said, I got no idea. Looked back down at her, I said, what do you want? She said, Bubba. I looked back at sister, I said, I got no idea. And I walked on away. Came back through a little while later, same thing. Sister said, what in the hell is she calling you that for? I said, I got no idea. Well, I walked outside and I reached down in my pocket. And back then, you remember double bubble gum?
Mm-hmm.
You kept the singles and you just unwrap it, stick it in your mouth and go, right? I always had a pocket full of those. And that kid knew it.
She was trying to get some gum off of you?
She was trying to be the gum thief. So I walked back through there and she said it again. I pulled one out. And her eyes got all big. She looked and started smiling. Sister said, don't you give that child no sugar on my watch. You wait till her daddy gets home. I looked at her, I said, I'm sorry, baby, I can't give it to you right now. So later on, Johnny was there, and I came up to her and I undid a piece. And I said, man, she's been asking me for it all day. And she just got all happy and smiled and everything. So, I don't know how it transitions, but all of a sudden, sister's calling me Bubble Up. And I'm like, back in them days, you just, whatever your elders called you, you went with it, right? You didn't question shit. Otherwise, you got the backhand. So, didn't think much of it and just said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Well, then Lacey's calling me Bubble Up. And then it just spreads like wildfire through the camp. Well, at the time, I told you about Brian Evers, who had hired me. It was Brian and Brian. We were the crew. Brian, and Kenny. Kenny was on our drum tech. So it gave, it was always confusing. Everybody would say, Brian, call Brian, and both of us would show up. So the band started calling me Bubble Up. And I kind of solved that problem. And I just I never fought it.
It sticks. Once it's stuck, it's stuck.
stuck.
That's it. Yep.
So fast forward all these years later when I'm, coming up with the shop idea and what I'm going to create a website and, what I'm going to name the thing. And at the time I was working with Cassidy Diana, who had moved in across the street from me, who is now one of Nashville's biggest songwriters, Cassidy Daniels. She was like, what are you going to call it? And I was like, I don't know. And she goes, Bubble Up's Guitar Works. Well, that works. Well, there you go. That's how we got the name.
Well, there you go.
So, so totally would have never gotten that without that story because it was very intriguing names and
I still don't know. It's funny because I forget what year it was that Skinner started the end of farewell tour
Right.
or whatever they're calling it now. But me and Johnny, we've stayed in touch all these years. We talk a few times a year, and I think it was 18. They were starting the farewell tour, and they were rehearsing down here at AMP in West Palm. I think they had like Kid Rock with them and Kid Rock, Skinner, and somebody else. Anyway,
Yeah, I went to that show. They opened up for Kid Rock, which was wrong.
something
so
like
wrong.
that, yeah.
So wrong.
wait, which year was this?
I forget what year
It was fairly recent though, right?
No, it was before COVID.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was before COVID, but
Yeah.
it's whenever they started the farewell tour. and
Yeah,
Right.
They were going to back out, and then, Gary was still alive.
So this was sorry to interrupt, Brian, but I think I know the time frame you're
About
talking.
10 years ago.
No, maybe
8
not
years
that
ago.
far. No,
No,
because
it wasn't that far. It
no,
was-
because this is
yeah.
because Charlie Daniels was on this bill, right?
Who?
Charlie Daniels,
I think he was.
because I saw and Black Cherry Smoke, because I saw them that show in Jacksonville in the stadium.
In the stadium.
Yes.
So, yes,
Yes.
that was the stadium
Yes.
show. So this was the rehearsal for the opening of the tour.
Okay.
And Johnny was like, man, you gonna be able to come down? And he said, dude, you were here in '87 for the start of this. It'd be really cool to have you hang around for a day and just fart around down here. And I was like, yeah, man, let me know when you coming in. So we got together, and he said, Kristen is tour photographer for documenting the farewell tour. She's going to be taking all the pictures and all kind of stuff. She'll be here too. I said, well, that's cool. I said, don't tell her I'm coming. And he said, all right. So anyway, I got there that afternoon or whatever, and they had just gotten there. And I walked out on the amp stage, and him and Kristen are down far stage left talking. And I walked up and I put my hands around her eyes and I said, you got 5 seconds to tell me who this is. And she said, bubble up. And I looked over at Johnny. I said, fuck, man, I told you not to tell her. He said, man, I couldn't. I had to tell her you was coming. Well, thanks, bro. Appreciate that. But, yeah, we got to hang out. I hadn't seen Kristen in, I can't even tell you what year it was the last time. I remember the last time I seen her in Jacksonville. We were playing a game of pool. It was me and my ex-wife, Johnny's ex-wife, and the two girls at Freebird's Cafe at Jacksonville Beach. And
Oh, that's very cool.
I want to say they were probably 18, 19 at the time.
Did you have any gum in your pocket?
No. No, I wasn't that smart. I should have thought about that. I should have. That's a good. That's good.
So,
Good, man.
So Brian, for those that are listening and watching here, you keep mentioning a name here, Van Sant, right? We're talking about the family, the Van Sant family. For those that don't know,
one of the founding families of Southern rock itself.
right?
He
Yeah.
found one. You say one of
Them and the
Yeah,
Almonds.
between the Almonds and the Van Zandt,
Right.
Yeah.
there's not much more room other than the Browns and the Lubecks, and
Yeah.
that came after. So
I mean, it's almost a prerequisite if you're going to become a big Southern rock band. You got to have a Van Zandt in the band,
38 Special.
Yeah,
Leonard
exactly.
Skinner, I mean, dude.
unless you're from Tampa.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those that are not following what we're trying to say here is, yes, this is Leonard Skinner, right? This is the Southern band here, and again, I think most people know the history, the story about Leonard Skinner, and the unfortunateness of losing some of the members, and the continuation of the music, right? And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some thoughts about continuing a band in some form that is not original members and changing members, and some of the thoughts about when a band loses a member for whatever reason and inserts a new part into that mix, is how much does that kind of change? And some of that, because I know it's a very heated topic. Like Van Halen comes to mind. You put in a totally new singer between Sammy and Dave. Or
There are a whole lot of different reasons why a band would change a member. Right.
Oh, there's 1,001 reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, using the Van Halen thing is kind of I don't know, man. That's Sammy added something.
I don't disagree.
Sammy added something that wasn't there.
Yep.
Was it the same as DLR? Of course not. But it was different, and people liked it. People dug it, and people bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, let's face it, record companies were out to make money, bands were out to make money, and that was the bottom line.
I saw them the first tour, and it was I'd seen Van Halen, and I had seen Sammy, and it was like watching two concerts at the same time.
Yeah.
It was the Sammy show, and it was still the Van Halen show. And to watch, the Van Halen brothers playing Sammy Hagar songs, that was wild.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see the way that Eddie
But
and
that's
Alex
how they
treated
did
that
that.
stuff.
So there, within that, there's a little bit of difference there. Because most of these bands that you see that have changed members don't do that. They don't play the Sammy Hagar hit.
It wasn't a creative, like the Van Halen and Sammy, that was a creative coming together.
Right.
But you're about to explain why most bands do that, and we want to talk about that.
Well, I don't know that I can explain it why most bands do it, but it's a change of and I'm not into it. I'm not a. I've worked for a lot of tribute bands, and it's changed the definition. When we first started the tribute tour, that's what it was called, a tribute to Leonard Skinner. 10 years later, the music continues. Okay? And that's all it was supposed to be. It was going to be a 2-year, at the first, it was just going to be a tour. It was going to be one fucking tour, and we're out. Well, of course, money makes the world go around, and, you know,
It did well.
they made a lot of money. And so it continued on. Was Johnny the right at the time? Of course. I mean, 38 Special was still predominant. In
Yeah,
the
they were
business.
still a functioning entity,
Yeah.
selling a lot of records.
They were still
Donnie wasn't going to do that.
And Donnie wasn't going to do that. And he had told him that, thanks, but no thanks. And unfortunately for Johnny and us being dropped by Geffen and really having no open doors, it was kind of a no-brainer. And because we all looked at it, the band, it was like, what about us? And I was just fortunate enough. Dude, I wasn't even supposed to be part of the Leonard Skinner Tribute Tour. I was out with Gene Odom selling books. I was working for Gene Odom, the original security guy that was on the plane that went down. He was Ronnie Van Zant's best friend. And I went out with him just to hustle cases of books that he was selling about the plane crash. Put up his little tent and, take care of him. And Big Lou walked out, who was the tour manager for Skinner, and he was talking with Gene, and he was like, I need a guitar tech for Gary. And Gene looked over at me and he said, there's one right there. And I said, dude, I'm out here working for you. He said, man, don't you worry about me. You go take care of Gary. And Lou looked over at me and he said, can you handle it? I said, absolutely. I walked in and shook hands with Gary again. We'd met on several occasions before. Yeah. And then next thing I know, here I am, a guitar tech for the Rothman band. So when I tell you, it's nothing more than being in the right place at the right time.
Right, yeah. You got a couple of stories like that. You said you last week about the keyboard, now all of a sudden,
It all started there, and it just kept going. It just kept going. Every opportunity I've ever had came out of nowhere. Blessed. Blessed is the only
Rock
word.
on.
Yeah, blessed is the only word I can say. But getting back to the tribute thing, let's take Molly Hatchet, for instance.
That's a heated subject right there.
It's a very heated subject. I went out when Danny and Bob.
With the Danny Joe Brown band.
Well, no. That was before my time. That was before my time.
Okay.
Okay. This is in '90. I had just come off the Skinner tour, and this was the guy I used to work for that we talked about in the first episode. So he finds out that I'm home from that and wants to sit down and talk about this new project that him and Danny are doing. And come to find out that when I had left and gone over to Van Zant, there was a band called China Sky.
Right.
Okay, and that was what the band I had worked for previously became.
Okay.
A guy named Ron Perry came in, started singing vocals. Long story short, they had a record deal. Record comes out, and BIP leaves. Leaves the band, and starts hanging out back again with his old boss, DJB. So they decide that they're going to reform Molly Hatchet. And they bring in Rick Bland's on guitar, Rob Scavetto on keys, a young guy on bass, Rob Sweat, and David Fiegel on drums. All of Jacksonville's, yeah, thanks, train.
Yeah.
We used to hear the train all the time in Jacksonville.
I was thinking to myself, does anybody else hear that train?
like
I
home,
certainly
yeah.
hope
What are you
so.
What are you talking about?
Headphones on. I
train.
can still
Yeah.
hear the freaking train.
This segment is brought to you
We're
by
not
the
even
Bright
talking
Line.
about breakfast.
You better get a plug for that, buddy.
I hope so. I'm sending him an invoice.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Messing
to
up
do.
our
I'm
show.
glad I'm
Yeah.
not the only one.
I think that covers our bits for today.
Yes.
So yeah, this was the rebirth of Molly Hatchet. This is when Danny took off and just started doing his own thing, and he left Dave and Steve and Bruce and all the boys behind, and it was a big deal in Jacksonville. Everybody's like, "Who the fuck do these guys think they are?" You know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
so Brian, real quick, what's our time frame here?
this
What's
is
kind of-
early '90. I want to say '90
yeah.
into '91 maybe. And I hung with that project for about 9 months until it just got to be bullshit, you know. And then after I left, it started the revolving players, you know. Were they a step up in performance level? Probably. But it became just to watch it. Like somebody told me the other day, yeah, I got an ex Molly Hatchet guitar player in my band. Which one?
Yeah. Right.
Only been like 1,000 of them.
Yeah, well, actually, Dave told me that he said since I left the band and when I got back in, there were 27 people between me.
That number is probably a low number.
Well, there's 3 guitar players in the
I mean,
band.
hell,
That's
Eric
just
Lundgren
one side of the stage.
Eric Lundgren from the Johnny Van Zant band was one of them. He filled that role for a while. There was just so many. It was great when it started. It was the same thing as the Skinner thing. It was a tribute to the music of Molly Hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
But now you see, even now, today, you still see the Molly Hatchet logo, official Molly Hatchet, and yeah, BIP owns the name rights and the licensing and all that. But then I remember, I think the keyboard player may still be in there. I don't know, but that's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different level of tribute.
Well, we were talking about this, Kevin and I a few episodes back about how Foghat was back on the blues chart, the Billboard chart, and we're like,
Mm-hmm.
who's left in Foghat to still kind
Who
of
is?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
yeah,
But like I've been, I did interrupt you on purpose, but I'm going to be polite and say sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
wow.
But working in the industry, I've worked with a lot of tribute bands, and I understand why they're there. Like I've got the same kind of animosity towards people who are glomming onto a name, but I understand why it gets done. Like the first time it struck me is I was doing sound for the Byrds. And all the Byrds were dead except for the drummer, who no one ever knew who he was. But this dude was in his 80s, and he was just as gray as you can get. I'm like, you could just look at him and tell he's going to drop dead any second. And so I'm like, this is the I'm about to die tour, and I got to pay for my casket.
Hey, it's a good thing we're not having this conversation.
The assisted living tour.
But think about it. Like, what are you going to do? Like, if you're a musician, what would you rather do? Like, are you going to just quit playing and start a lawn maintenance company? Or are you going to just go out and ride the coattails of yourself or your former colleagues and make some money doing what you were made to do? So that's not a bad concept, but it does take away from the purity of the creators of the music.
Yeah, it takes a big time.
It's a wise business decision, but it's a poor creative decision. Sometimes it becomes a very irreverent decision. And in the case of Molly Hatchet, there's a lot of people that would say that it is extremely irreverent and irreverent as well.
So it's interesting is that I think I do recognize that when there's a member of a band that's replaced for whatever reasons, the most critical is, and like you said, Brian, was Van Halen, Van Hagar it was different. And I think vocals is probably the biggest place it will change how people feel.
Vocals and the writing.
Okay, fair, right? And vocals and the writing, because it could take things into different direction. But if you're covering the same material from the previous band, it's definitely different. So here's where I'm going with this is, just recently watched the Bon Jovi documentary on Netflix. I'm sorry, Hulu.
There's a Bon Jovi documentary?
So 40th anniversary. So it was,
Lord, are you kidding
We're
me?
all dead.
No, we're
so-
not. Speak for yourself.
So it was interesting, for me, growing up in New Jersey. You know this, Kevin, is right.
No, I
Crazy
don't. 'Cause I
boy.
never grew up in New Jersey.
Well, okay. What I'm trying to tell you,
I've been there, though.
You know that I
Be
was
thankful.
anyway. So what I'm saying is, that I'm from New Jersey. I think I've
do
told you.
now. Thank you.
Oh, you didn't know? You didn't know that?
All I knew is
See,
you
we
moved
don't
to
really hang out,
Florida.
Brian. This is the only time we actually hang out.
Yeah,
is
we
every
don't
two-
even really
every other
even
2
know
weeks,
each other,
a couple weeks. So,
I will give you the Stone Pony.
there you go. Right.
I've been there
Yeah.
too.
But yeah, anyway, so I grew up and I've told this story numerous times, so I apologize. But yeah, so I grew up in Saraville, where John's from, went to school with his younger brother, and so forth. So,
You did tell me this. I'm sorry.
yeah, so we back to that can't remember shit again.
I got the CRS really
CRS.
bad, y'all.
Hi, this podcast is brought to New Riva, where we helps us remember stuff. And
I have a story about that actually.
I bet you do. So anyway, so they're talking about what form of that band, when Richie left the band, and now you have a new guitar player coming in, and it wasn't just we'll just put another guitar player in there. It was a prominent guitar player because it was Richie and John for a lot of stuff, singing and so forth.
Writing.
Yeah, and writing for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And a lot of people didn't know Richie wrote a lot of that stuff with John,
And sang a lot of it live
and
when
sang
John's
a lot.
voice ran out.
Oh,
They
yeah.
they were opening up for 38 Special.
And they talked about that in
Bon
that
Jovi
episode.
was
Yep.
opening up for 38.
Yep.
I remember that.
And that came up in the documentary. They talked
Did it?
about it. It was like all of a sudden, and then they're like their song
Boom,
hit,
they took off.
their song hit number one, and they said 38 Special. It's like, hey, can you guys stay on this tour? They didn't want them to leave the tour because they're like saying, hey, we're bigger than you are now. So, and 38 Special was like, please stay because it's helping sell tickets for
Right.
us.
selling our records.
yeah,
Yeah.
rock on.
But there's certain positions. I said guitar players. If you really are into that style or like I said, the nuances of that music of the band you like, and starts changing. Foo Fighters. Okay, they lost a drummer. How much is that really going to impact the writing and style of the? I don't think much. To be not to take anything away from Taylor, but Dave did a lot of the drum stuff anyway. So to me, I think there's different kind of nuances about in a band when you're replacing a member
The whole
for whatever the
dynamic,
reasons.
the whole dynamic's changed now. It's not like the bands of the 70s and 80s when everybody had their spot. Now it's like you just said, Dave Grohl does so much, in the studio. It's all Grohl, And so now you got a guy that replicates it really well,
Right.
and they go out on tour and they make a lot of money and they sell thousands of records.
ZZ Top. ZZ Top's touring.
Look at that. The dude was their tech for 25 years,
Yep.
and now he's the man.
Right.
Well, they did publish the story about how it was Dusty's wish that they would continue and all that, whether or not that's real or not.
And it's the same thing with Skinner and with Gary's passing. And
But see, I think what we're talking about is the difference is, like we're using Van Halen as an example. That was not an attempt to recreate the David Lee Roth era. That was an attempt to
create
create a whole new thing.
Rebirth. Like a rebirth.
You're right.
That's different than when like everybody's dead and the name of the band is owned by the first lead singer's ex-girlfriend's dog groomer, his accountant, right? And so they're just hiring musicians to glom off a name that's 30 years old because they know it's going to sell. That's a completely different
It's a
thing.
completely different thing.
So is Leonard Skinner right now? What is left of the current iteration?
There's only Ricky Medlock, who was a drummer in one of the original formats of the band back in, I think, '66.
He played on the
Wow.
original Muscle Shoals recordings as he was the drummer.
And that's it.
That's it.
I
Yeah.
mean, but you got some great players in there. Michael Cardelloni, damn Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been there with Skinner now for God knows how many years. Um, Damon Johnson took over. Gary wanted Damon Johnson. He brought him into the fold. It's kind of something that Gary laid out and wanted to happen. Um, and Johnny's just trying to hold it all together. But it's a corporation, and it's a moneymaker.
Right.
And but it's like they'll all tell you, you look out in that audience, dude. There's 4 or 5 generations of people out there buying tickets, buying shirts, and enjoying the music.
That is perfect, right? Is there's different things because I saw the ZZ Top Skinner tour last year, and did I go in being so? Does that not make me a super uber fan of those bands and not be so angst against that they have replacement players? You know, I went there, and again, this is kind of what this whole show is about. It's like, hey, let's just go have a great time, listen to music, have a few drinks, hang out up on the hill, the amphitheater, and just not get too caught up in some of those things. And I had a great time at that show. Okay, that's not the original members of Leonard Skinner, but fuck, I was singing the songs and I was going along with it, right?
I haven't. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been since the end of the beginning of the farewell tour. I told you about that. I haven't been, and I probably won't go, just because you know the tribute tour for me. I can listen to the album "Southern by the Grace of God," and I can tell you I was at all those recordings on stage, and it was 2 nights in the Omni in Atlanta, and 2 nights in Dallas Reunion Arena, and for me that was my Leonard Skinner.
You have a frame of reference.
I have a
It's-
frame
this
of
is it.
reference now.
Well, it's different when you're standing on deck with them.
Well,
Yeah.
no, because I got out of it, went to the Malahatchie thing for a while, and did a whole bunch of other things. I mean, there's so many bands that came out of Jacksonville; it's incredible. But
Limp Bizkit.
Dude, you want
Is that fight?
I want to tell you this, and you're gonna die. So one of my last gigs before leaving Jacksonville was working into this piece of shithole nightclub downtown Jacks that didn't open until 11 p.m. at night, and it closed at 6 in the morning. And it was all this grunge, Northwest Portland, Oregon, the stuff
Right.
coming in at
Yep.
that time.
Right.
And I hated this band, but it was great money because nobody else wanted to fucking do it. Running monitors.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Running monitors for this band. Guy named Fred Durst.
Yeah.
And I quit that job, and I left Jacksonville.
You didn't do it all for the nookie?
And a fucking year later, I hear Limp Bizkit. Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit's going to be playing, the Woodstock thing or whatever.
Yeah, 99. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Missed opportunity. Man at the right place at the right time.
Not that time.
Dude, not that time. That's when it all changed for me.
Mm.
And that's when I had to get out of the business for a while because it was just, bullshit business. We all know this. It's a cutthroat business. So, but yeah, you brought up Fred Durst. So there you go.
That's great. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. What were we talking about before that?
We were talking about, Molly Hatchet and, the original
so-
members and all that. Yeah. Yeah. The bands that came out of Jacksonville. Right.
So for the Skinner thing for me, it was 87 through 90. They came off the road finally and went in as a band to do the 1991 album. It was something that was uncharted, something that was unheard of, something that was not planned. I think they did a good job. If you listen to the 1991 album and you listen to the last recording of Leonard Skinner before the plane crash, and you take the time difference and the technology difference, and you add that into the equation, I think you hear what Ronnie would be proud of.
Mm, that's well said.
And there's a couple more solo albums after that that weren't too bad, but they didn't get the recognition because it wasn't Ronnie Van Zant. It wasn't, Ed King had left, and now they had Mike Estes playing, and
Well, Mike Estes, when he plays, he says he's got the distinction of playing on the worst selling Skinner album ever. And he laughs about it.
yeah, he laughs about it. But "Devil in a Bottle" was a great song. Dude.
Yeah, it is a good song.
It was a great song. It just wasn't done justice in the studio. And Skinny Molly's still doing it justice live.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess it's I've heard people make reference to when there's at least there's always I think the sentiment is at least there's always one member of the original band or who was in a formation of the band before it became its thing. One that comes to mind a lot is in the back in the 80s band. You remember Rat, right? The band.
Yeah.
Band. There's a whole big dispute over that.
That's
whole
a huge
thing.
mess.
Who owns the rights and who owns the name, and it's this guy's, and it's kind of really, it's kind of weird. It's that.
But I've seen it too, where there's nobody in the band has ever even heard of the band. They just got hired to learn these songs and play.
Yeah, that's when it gets out of control.
That's when it's just purely a business thing.
Hey Brian, I think what you and I should do. We should work on a Kevin McLaughlin tribute band. Right? We talked to Jake about this, so we're gonna start a.
Talk to Jake about it.
Yeah,
That'll never sell. But when you take this whole concept to its fruition, like we can look at Kiss, who
Oh, yeah.
there's not going to be any Kiss. The ultimate Kiss tribute bands are digital avatars that are going to be playing in Vegas forever.
And that's a whole new level. I mean, you gotta hand it to them. You gotta hand it to them financially. Who'd have thunk that shit? And here you go.
Gene Simmons, the ultimate
They've
rock
always
marketer.
led. They've always led in
Always
some
led,
form
yeah.
of fashion.
So now they're going to live on forever,
Ever.
agelessly, as superheroes.
And I had the pleasure of teching for Kiss America, which is one of Florida's biggest Kiss tributes. They've got the fire, they've got the costumes, they've got the Love Gun stage, they've got all of that shit. And bunch of guys. They all play their parts very well, to the point, to the T. But then you see, and even John Carlazzo's Kiss Alive, once again, very on point
They're a
and
good
to the
band.
key. But, there's quite a few others out there that they don't put the effort in. And they're just relying on the music. And you know what? You're not really good at that either. So you're living on a name.
Well, I've seen some great Kiss tribute bands.
There's quite a
even
few.
bands that were officially endorsed wearing the costumes from '78.
Yeah,
the actual costumes.
That's Kiss America. Neil Davis is.
I worked with a band who did that.
He's got Gene Simmons' blessing on
Yeah,
all
yeah.
his stuff. He's got all the dragon outfits.
But then the worst example of that is: have you ever seen Mini Kiss?
Yeah, unfortunately.
We're not even going to say that.
I know.
We're not even going to talk about them. You know what? I give
tickets are half
all
off.
the members. All the members of Mini Kiss deserve a lot of credit, and I give you credit for what
They
you
go
do.
out there and try.
They
and,
do.
and
they
for
do a
that you
great
got to
job.
say
It's
wow.
some. You know what?
We're
It's
not even going to go into that at all. We're going to change the subject right now.
All right.
Anyway, I can't talk about that live on the air.
Oompa,
No way.
oompa, oompa.
I give those guys a lot of credit. I'm not even going to say because
Lord,
I'm
Lord,
going to
forgive
ask
me.
you to edit it out, and then you're not
Lord,
going
forgive
to.
me.
'Cause I asked
I
that.
didn't mean to.
Yes, you did. Stop it.
What does Larry the Cable Guy say all the time? Is like, forgive me, but the baby pygmies in Africa or something like that. He says something like that.
Forgive me, Lord. I think I'll stop and pygmies on New Guinea or something like that. I recently listened to Bill Engvall and the guys on Spotify just for one bit. I was like, I wish they were on Pandora again.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, the whole redneck
Oh,
tour
the
thing.
red-
Oh, yeah.
All those guys are hilarious.
yeah. So that I think that's really interesting. Brian, is how much that's the some bands are really stuck to their guns. I think of a band growing up, which I thought was going to be a great band. Again, coming from New Jersey, was Skid Row.
Skid Row. I was just
Oh,
gonna say
yeah.
Skid Row.
Again, it's like, guys, can't
Um,
you just put the hatchet down, the Molly hatchet down, and just let Sebastian back in the band? Do you like that reference there? You know what I mean?
Well, I can attest to this, and
What my question is, what the fuck is Lizzie Hale doing?
Oh, so okay, so you didn't hear, right? So who's it? So,
Lizzie
all right, so-
Hale from Hailstorm is singing with Skid Row now.
Yeah, so here's what happened with that is, because it was really weird. Everyone's like, "What happened?" And that was bizarre. And I don't remember his name. Not Johnny Solinger. That's many singers ago. Had left the band was because the lead singer had like cancer. I guess got some health issues.
Okay.
I think that's really what it was, and it kind of came out that why Lizzie stepped in to help them finish out certain
The tour or
and
whatever.
whatnot. Yeah, so I'm like, all right, I'm like, that'd be friggin' awesome to see that. Right?
That's not how our wonderful media reports it.
No, of course not. Right? Yeah.
But yeah, see, I can understand that. But at the same time, why not invite Sebastian back to finish those days?
I can tell you why. And I don't know Sebastian, but I can make some educated guesses. Now, being in a band my whole life, every band has a singer. And when that singer is a dedicated lead singer,
CJ Snare, fire.
there's a certain set of circumstances that ensue. Like, y'all out there, if you're not a musician, you understand that musicians are weird. Okay, but when we narrow the focus down to the lead singer category, that's a special depth of weirdness that cannot be reproduced in any other way. And when bands have problems with their lead singer, it's because of that. It's because lead singers are just a special kind of weird, and they can be, now I'm not going to say this for everybody, but it is quite common that lead singers can be an issue in a band.
Are you the lead singer in your band?
I am not the lead singer in my band. I'm the only singer in my band.
Oh, even better.
I'm the only singer.
I like that.
I had
Right,
to.
so here's case in point.
Let me just answer that. Like, I can't sing. Everybody knows that Kevin McLaughlin cannot sing. If you want to get a loan at the bank, if you just say to your loan officer, we both understand that Kevin McLaughlin can't sing, then you're in. But because lead singers are so unwieldy to deal with, because they are so much more important than the rest of us, I have been willing to, in exchange for not having to ever deal with the lead singer again, I've been willing to inflict the world with my own singing. It's pretty horrible. But it's what I've decided to do just to insulate myself from lead singerdom.
I got a guy for you. Scott Board.
You have him call me.
You got some money?
Okay.
Case in point, when Danny Joe Brown died, Molly Hazard died.
And that's the other reason why I decided to start singing, because good or bad, from the general population's point of view, whatever the voice of the band is, that's the band.
That's how we've all. Van Hagar was the one difference, and I have to say, Leonard Skinner came in a close second.
Well,
Who else has done it?
Well, the brothers have very similar voices. From Far Away in the Dark, You've Been Drinking a Lot, Johnny and Ronnie do sound very similar. But when you really sit down and listen to it, you can definitely tell the difference. But what I'm saying is, from the general point of view of the general public, the voice of the band is the band. Like, it's so
That's
much
the heart of it,
easier
yeah.
for a lead singer to go out solo and play that songs and be accepted than it is
for the
for
band.
to get another singer.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So and I can sing at least as good as Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan and Neil Young.
Ooh. Neil Young.
So, I should be okay.
Bob Dylan?
Bob Dylan is just an angelic singer like no one's ever heard.
What about Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy sings way better than all those guys.
That's it, because he wants to party all the time.
And I'm being totally serious, just so you know.
That's a great song, by the way.
All right, I can on a good day I can sing as well as William Shatner.
Did you ever hear Pat Cooper? Is that
Have you ever heard any of William Shatner
have not.
singing?
I have not,
Oh.
and I'm kind of thinking I'm thankful for that.
You need to just thank your lucky stars that you've never heard that.
I'm thankful.
But yeah, I
But Tracy is looking at me like, we have discussed this. You shall not be self-deprecating about your singing.
Get him,
Stop
Pat.
it.
Get him.
Because there are actually people out there who think my singing is okay, and I'm very grateful for you.
I've never had a problem with it.
A what?
I've never had a problem with it.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
You're welcome.
But I've worked with a lot of great singers. I know where I stand in the singing world, so I don't pretend to be.
Fucking guitar playing motherfucker, though.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
so he holds down not only the singing but the guitar playing. So if you had to replace Kevin in the Kevin McLaughlin band, would that still be the Kevin McLaughlin band?
Ooh.
With licensing agreements, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's a real important thing where you mentioned Kiss, right? Another big kind of, again, it was always still Paul and Gene.
Icons.
Paul and Gene, as long as Paul and Gene were there, that was at least 50% of the original members. You stick Ace and Peter or replacements for them into the.
I still can't deal with I can't. Deal
I don't know,
with
dude.
Ace being gone. I
I
can't deal
think
with
the
that.
unmasked era for Kiss was a whole different ballgame.
Well, but some of it included different
Yeah,
members.
that was a
though.
weird time for Kiss. That was in Dynasty they came out with their disco attempt, which is.
Come on, I was made for loving you, man.
Yeah, and then the unmasked
sold,
era.
It sold records.
It sold records. Yeah,
However much
complaining about it. I'm just telling you that it was there.
it sold records.
I was a huge Kiss fan as a kid. That's how I got my start in music. Thank you, Gene and Paul and Ace and Peter. I got my start in music because of Kiss.
I mean, like last year, I got to work with Bruce Kulick for a while,
Oh, very.
Oh, that had to be
cool.
fun.
Oh,
and what a down to earth guy, dude.
Really?
And I was kind of, when I got thrown into the position, I was kind of like, oh shit, fucking Bruce Kulick, and everybody else looking at me like, so.
it's like, don't you know who he is?
How many of
Yeah.
Kiss's
Well,
albums
it's
was
not-
he on?
it's
Like
not
4
that.
or
Just
5?
For me, hell, fuck, I don't know, dude.
A bunch of them.
There's a bunch,
Yeah.
world tours and
yeah, he was part of the
Yeah.
band for a
and
long
not
time.
only that, just
My favorite replacement for
brother
Ace,
Bob. Plus,
plus
what
a
he had done
world-renowned
before
producer and record producer. And yeah, I mean, Bruce Kulick is my favorite replacement for Ace.
oh, he was
He's the only one
awesome,
that stood up
awesome
to my
guy.
personal test.
It was weird because he was flying in, and it was going to be one of those. We don't have any time for rehearsals. This is what I need you to do. Here's a picture of my pedal board as it should be set. And, here's my amp settings as they should be set. I need all of this, and I need you to give me a guitar, and I'm going to come out and play. And he was doing the whole Kiss Alive 3 in its entirety, or Kiss Alive 2 or 3, I forget which one.
Kiss Live 3.
But he was doing the whole freaking album in its entirety, song for song. And no breaks, no, I was like, fuck. He shipped me all his guitars in prior to being there, So I had like, 10 minutes with him before we got to go on stage.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
my name's Brian. I'm doing your guitars. Yeah, we've been talking on the phone. Hey, dude, you got everything set? Yeah. Boom, all right. Can I trust you? Dude, I got you. He walked out there and he fucking nailed it, And
Bruce is badass.
yeah. And so for me, as the guy that helped make all that happen, that's my reward,
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know you worked with Bruce Kulick.
Oh man, dude, I've worked with some interesting. I did Ace Frehley that same weekend
Oh, well,
Oh,
that's
damn!
interesting.
Holy cow! That's
with the smoking guitar.
oh.
They hired me specially for this event because it was a Kiss-related event, number one, and they knew that I was familiar. It was put on by Neil Davis and Brian Bell. Anyway, it was a cancer awareness fundraiser. It was Kiss-themed events. Ace Frehley was there. Bruce Kulick was there. A band called Sister's Doll from Australia. Todd Kearns was there from Slash's Myron Kennedy's band. God, who else? I know I'm forgetting people. It was a big deal, and I text for everybody. And to have Ace's tour manager come back and say, "You know the smoking guitar," because I had worked on the same smoking guitar with Kiss America. They're all made by Jim Cara up north, and that's Ace's guy. And I was like, "Yeah, I know the guitar, I know how it works." And he was like, "All right, put it together, because they can't travel with the battery. You can't fly the guitar in with the battery in the back."
Right.
So put it all together, and he's like, "Show me how it works." I'm like, "Dude, this. Here, turn the light on, turn it one more time, the smoke starts." He's like, "Okay. Is it in tune?" I say, "Yeah, it's in tune, dude." Gives it, and I'm sweating, dude. I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, because I've never teched for Ace before. And he's playing a full step down on nines.
Oh, wow.
They're like spaghetti strings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's his attack like? Because my attack will be
I
this.
would, I wouldn't even be able to do that.
Oh, dude, I was sweating bullets. And when I hear him hit that G chord, and it's just ringing, I'm like, fucking thank you, Lord.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
He must have a super light touch.
So
Fucking,
so
what, 77 now? 75?
so what is
Yeah, I
what
guess
is
so.
what is that like though? I mean, again, it's like an idol kind of thing, right? Is that this was? I mean, all growing up. I mean, for you guys, more growing up is Ace, and yeah, and
I guess for
recognize,
me, he's just another guitar player because
Okay.
I've worked with so many.
Okay.
I don't take it like that. Whereas I'm not
Starstruck.
I'm
Yeah.
not starstruck.
Yeah.
I've never been that way.
You can't get like that, or else they stop trusting you.
Yeah.
If you get all fanboyish on stage, they're like, "Get this guy out of here."
I mean,
didn't-
it's always been my mentality. I got a job to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Be professional,
I
right?
don't care
Yeah.
if you're Kevin McLaughlin or fucking Ace Frehley. We got a job to do.
Wow, you're in the same
You
companies,
know.
man. Look at that.
So yeah, and I was just freaking Rick Derringer. He's another one.
What?
So
Hey, why are you dropping all these names at the end of the episode here, right?
I'm giving you plenty of firepower for future episodes, pal.
It's
Ooh,
all.
he wants to come back
Oh,
again. I don't know.
okay, Yeah.
Come back again?
Jeez, a third. Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. It's all TikTok worthies here. So before we wrap up, because we're running up on time here, is we've got a song to review.
Oh dang! I almost
Yeah, I
totally
know, man.
forgot
We're-
about
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Ooh, a Kevin McLaughlin song?
No, good lord.
No. Go ahead and preview it here. Talk it up, Kev.
Oh well, we've got a gentleman here who actually I've got a lot of respect for this guy. He moved from Africa to the United States because, in his words, the southern rock scene in southern Africa is really lame.
That's really southern.
Yeah, southern rock does not include southern Africa. Just so, I didn't know that until Vern Dazel came to the United States and I got a chance to meet him. And I don't care who you are, if you are serious enough about what you do to move to another hemisphere and show up and do your thing, that is brass balls in my book. So he uprooted his family. He came to the United States, and he has done a great job of making great music here in the United States. And we are going to go ahead and review a Vern Dazel song.
It's Gold Digger here. So I know of Vern. I know again our gratuitous episode plug for Brad Brock on Jams and Cocktails. I know of Vern from his show, from Brad's show there, the name. So have not seen him and so forth, but I know him. So yeah, so this is going to be good here.
Vern consistently puts out good music. Yeah. He puts on a good show. And we're going to go ahead and find out what is it, the riff or the rhythm that makes this song a good one.
So, Brian, you're going to help us out with this and kind of add your thoughts into listen and say what makes that song, the riff or the rhythm.
10-4.
All right, here we go. Here, so this is Vern Dazel, Gold Digger.
Lyrics
song. Video.
To articulate growing out of control for all to see.
Very rock and roll.
I don't know why you come this far, spreading all your tales. Hide your true reality underneath that veil.
Nice chord change.
But I see right
Ooh.
through you.
Nice rhythm aspect, yeah.
All those crazy games you play, coming back to rule.
You know, I'm not a guitar player, but I like that tone.
Yeah, it's a good one. Good guitar tone, good vocal tone.
That's called
Wow, it's a nice.
right there. Yeah, that lead break.
Yeah.
You're digging deep with your heart of stone.
Yeah, I've already have a feeling where this is going to go.
I like the production. I like the guitar tone. I like the whole thing.
Got redone, I think, at Raincat, wasn't it? I know the original Gold Digger was recorded, I think, in South Africa. I think he redid everything over here.
I've been trying to find the way to articulate
What's that
the
big word again?
words to say. But you're blind to a blind man.
So this is what Jeff and Brian talked about, was just doing some lyric videos. Put something out there, right? Absolutely.
For all to see.
It's obligatory. I like this song.
Is this like a second solo?
Don't get no more southern than that.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say 2 guitar solos. Not like the '90s when they didn't even do them at all. Ah. All right, Paul.
Okay, yes, I'll give it to you, Kevin. It was the riff.
I would say it is the riff and the rhythm.
I don't disagree.
Because that's that first transition that we commented on had a kick-ass riff, and then it followed it up with a cool change up on the rhythm with a nice stop. I would say that Vern has created a song that is truly a southern rock sounding song, with the type of riffs that he's doing, the type of rhythms that he's doing, the actual tone, like the whole thing is like straight up Florida southern rock.
So are we giving this the lefty Hathaway coined term, the rhythm.
Yes, this song. What makes this song is the rhythm.
What do you think, Brian?
I agree. I mean, it's number one. Vern is a talented individual. He does everything himself. He's kind of like the Dave Grohl of the Treasure Coast. He's a hell of a drummer. I don't know if he played those drum tracks, but I know when I knew him, he was doing drum tracks. He was doing the bass tracks. He's doing everything he wanted to do on his own. And then
I've heard that about him.
yeah, I mean, so he's multi-instrumental. You know, he's a good songwriter. Good songwriter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great song.
He's a very good drummer. He started out as a drummer and learned how to play guitar because the riffs are better. But now he's been able to go ahead and incorporate it all together, and that's a great song, actually. Good job, Vern.
There you go. So now that we reviewed the song here, so we're coining this. This is the rhythm.
Rhythm.
What makes this song great is the rhythm.
Yes, the combination of the riff and the rhythm that brings it together. So this is now going to be newly added to our
Spotify Riffs and Rhythms.
playlist.
Yes, thank you.
So very good. So there you go. So all right. So Vern, yeah, can't wait to have Vern on there because I'm sure he's got some stories.
I invited Vern to be on, and he's like, I'm booked every Tuesday until the year 76,000.
Oh, okay. So was that a polite way to say no thanks?
I'm not sure, but he is, like, if you look at his website, like, he's been booked every single day since, like, the beginning of recorded internet.
So very cool. So yeah. So as we start wrapping up here, so we've listened to a track here, we reviewed our song, we've got our topic of conversation about changing out musicians and parts and pieces there. Definitely, I think some very
Well, I think they change out musicians like a whole musician at a time.
that'd probably be wise.
Yeah, it would be better than
Yeah.
changing out just a piece of a musician.
Can I have his arm and his fingers?
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, can we just?
That's what she
substitute
said.
His tone.
Hey, so real quick, I do want to kind of let me jump over here. Let me see. I do have a thing here I wanted to show. So this is on the riffs and rhythms. I start following this guy here. Damn, I don't remember the hell the friggin' his name is. But it's a guy who does. Here it is. This is. I think Kevin. We've talked about this. So this is a.
Oh yeah, if so and so was a part of so and so.
Yes.
Yeah, this is hilarious.
It's always great when the guitarist comes into the room and then upsets the other guitars. So.
Those are hilarious.
Yeah, so check out the Kyle Norris there. So I find it pretty fascinating to watch, even though most of the time it is guitar related stuff, but he does put some good content. So we're not afraid to give shout outs to other content creators there. So, but yeah. So, all right. So as we wrap up here, Brian, again, how can people check out what you're up to, your place, your business, people, places?
Well, I'm always there at the shop. It seems like I live there anymore. 2624 Southeast Willoughby Boulevard, Stuart, Florida, across the street from Martin County finest hotel.
The correctional institution, if I'm correct.
And www.bubbleupsguitarworks, all one word.com. I got some shirts for you guys.
Oh,
Rock on.
This is a special run. Again, this is the 10th year anniversary of me being an LLC on the Treasure Coast of Florida. So I ran a select amount of different sizes, and they will not be reprinted. I don't even know if I will go back to the original shirt that I printed 10 years ago.
oh wow.
Maybe I do something totally different, but I want you guys to have a shirt.
Oh, thank you, man.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it there. Thank you, Brian.
I'll take the large. You guys take the extra larges.
Oh, so he's giving me the fat size.
I didn't say that. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man.
You totally rock. Appreciate that. Oh, look at that.
Dude, I appreciate you guys having me on here. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so pretty cool.
Done right since 2014. So yeah. Very comfortable. I like the feeling there.
Yeah, these are good shirts.
Yeah, no, those are very well made. They're made in Sweden.
Oh.
Yeah.
Swedish T-shirts.
Oh, I like Swedish everything.
Oh, we
Oh,
could be a part of the
dude,
Swedish T-shirt team now.
I don't know.
I was
These are
blessed-
incredibly soft.
I was blessed 2 years ago to tech for Thunder Mother, opening up on the Scorpions tour.
Oh.
Yeah, those girls from Sweden, Rack, Guernica, Mona, Filippa.
Hey, can we hold that story for our Patreon segment here? If you give us 10 more minutes after.
We have a Patreon.
We
segment?
do. Did I told you?
Dude, we-
Oh, that's right. You did. You opened up a Patreon page.
That's right.
Why don't you just have me back for another episode at some point?
He's like, I'm done with you.
We will talk about anything you want to talk
Oh, okay. That's the super secret
Oh, there you
Patreon
go.
episode. So yes,
He's
so-
gonna cut us off at the Swedish girls.
I ain't cutting
Oh,
anybody
man.
off.
He's gonna be a tease and drop Swedish names of girls there, and he's gonna leave us. So anyway, so definitely check out Brian's shop there. So Bubble Up Guitars works.
Yep.
Right. So they're up in there in beautiful Stuart, Florida. There, I know. I saw the website. It says call because it's appointment only to come.
Yeah, I am by appointment only. A lot of people don't understand that, but my business is upstairs from another business, and my door downstairs just has to remain locked at all times because I have no way of safeguarding it.
Okay.
So there's a way around that, and that's called Call Me.
There you go. That's easy. And he already said in the last episode was, hey, just call me 24/7 and. Well, maybe not the 24/7 to come up open the shop.
If
Well,
you
no,
wanna-
maybe.
You want to call me at midnight? You got
There's a
price to
markup.
pay.
There's
That's
a
all.
markup to that, right?
There's a
yeah.
markup for
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, so super cool there. So again, check out what we're up to here. Although on our socials, there we're on the audio format as well. Spotify, Apple Podcast. It's under the Drums and Rums. So if you want to listen to it in the car, it's underneath the Drums and Rums channel there on Apple and all those audio platforms there too. So YouTube has its own channel there. So the videos that you probably are watching or should be watching.
But just
is-
as I like to remind you, Paul, if they're hearing you talk, they've already found all that stuff.
But if they're hearing only, then yes, you're right. But if they're seeing and hearing, that must mean you're on YouTube.
Okay.
Anyway, so since I'm
And don't
looks like-
forget to go to kevinmclaughlinband.com. Good luck spelling that.
What if they're deaf and blind?
Well,
They're kind of.
And they're not listening or looking at us, and it doesn't matter.
actually, Brian, they say that we sound and look great.
do.
Maybe you can help us start a braille cast.
Dude, now you're talking.
I was
see,
actually just
there's
thinking Morse
ingenuity
code.
right there.
So for deaf music fans who
Deaf
can't
music
see,
fans.
They sound great.
awesome.
So again, there shout out there to Beer 30. So check out the
ADA
song-
compliant.
Yes, so we got to make this podcast ADA compliant.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. All right.
Like anybody who can't see is going to type in our address.
Hey, usually the drummers has ADHD. Can I settle you down now? Anyway, so check out Beer 30 there. So check out Kevin McLaughlin there, right there. It's about time there. The Kevin McLaughlin hand model going on there, and check out the shows there. Check out downloads again.
Beer 30 is my favorite time of day.
Support, download, check out again. It's all about the download. It's all about the support. And again, I know
It's all about keeping it local, man.
Yep.
The national level's gone to shit. Take care of your local people. They're the ones that are entertaining you. They're the ones that you want to spend your money on. Go see them.
Boom. Better said.
I can't think of a better way to end a podcast than with that quote
That's
right.
right.
there. Good job, man.
All right, so let's bring her home, Mr. McLaughlin.
All right, so hey, I'm Kevin McLaughlin, and this is the Riffs and
Rhythms podcast. I'm Paul Robertson. So let's wrap this mofo up there.